I'm here in studio with State Senator Dylan Fernandes. He represents the Plymouth and Barnstable District. Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's great to be back.
I love it. You're sworn in now. Now it's official. You were a state rep. Now you're a state senator, and you represent 4 towns on this side of the canal and 4 towns on the other side of the canal. If people aren't sure if they're in your district, tell us your district.
Well, Plymouth, Plimpton, Pembroke, Kingston, Sandwich, Falmouth, Mashpee, and Bourne. So a long north to south district, but one of the most beautiful places on earth.
That's absolutely true. And what you're doing right now, I thought this was terrific about you're on a listening tour. So you're out in the district, you're meeting with folks in every single community and giving them a chance to just say, hey, I'm concerned about this, or I would like that. And you've already hit, I think, 1 or 2 of the Cape Towns. I think you went to Mashpee. You're headed down to Sandwich today. But you're also going to make some stops here on the South Shore. Tell our listeners a little bit about how to do it. Do they have to make a reservation? Do they just show up? And how much time typically will they get with you?
Yeah, so it's really important to me, especially as a new state senator. This is a new district that I'm out in the community early, listening to people, meeting them where they are. And so one of our first things I did when I took office, announced we're having this listening tour. And so we've done 3 stops already, Bourne, Mashpee, and Pembroke. And then we have 5 more stops in the 5 remaining towns. But anyone can come. You can just drop right in. We've had some really good attendance, some really good conversations. This is an opportunity for me and our staff really to just listen to people, listen about their cares, their concerns, what they want to see change, what they think the state can do better, what I can do to help them. And so we want everyone who can and is interested to be able to come and weigh in, and we're going to take their voices to the State House so that we can better represent them.
Some of the issues that we spoke about during your political forums, are they the same issues, or has that changed? I mean, reporters, we always think we know what the public wants to talk about, but you're actually getting to interact right with the public now. What do they tell you? What are they concerned about? What do they like?
Yeah, well, people are, housing's a big issue. Mm-hmm. People are really concerned about lack of affordable housing, cost concerns generally. So we hear a lot about people not being able to afford to live or buy a home or even rent a home in the communities that they're in. Believe me, I live that, so I understand it, and that's something we've been working on. Not just that, though, just a lot of things around childcare affordability. Families having a really hard time paying for childcare. Oftentimes a family member staying home because the cost of childcare is so expensive. What impact does that have, yes, on their pocketbook? What impact does that have on the state that we have people leaving the workforce to take care of their kids? And then a lot of environmental concerns, water quality, especially whether that's drinking water or wastewater. Both issues are quite expensive for municipalities, towns to address, and so that's been another really big concern.
What about, do people actually make a point of telling you, here's what I like about living here, and maybe here's what I like about here and don't want to change about living here? Yeah,
well, a lot of people, I mean, look, these are 8 towns that are really unique, really beautiful, and it's important that we're preserving them, and especially preserving their green spaces. I think there's a balance that we need to strike between supporting more housing for people while also preserving our green spaces and not, chopping down a ton of trees or other natural spaces to do that. So in my view, that means taking a really hard look around redevelopment and zoning in areas that, could use a fresher look. There's frankly, to pick on my hometown, there's a lot of strip malls down there and a lot of parking lots that are ripe for redevelopment for places that could have, multi-use, commercial on the bottom, bigger apartments, complexes on top that would actually improve the aesthetics, because strip malls and parking lots aren't very attractive, and then you're doing that, you're developing in a way that isn't cutting down any trees. So that's something that we're really kind of going to be focused on this session is smart development in a way that we're boosting our economy, but also in a way that we're preserving our environment. And I think that's what people care about here too.
And I know that there's a deadline at the beginning of the year about getting into the state legislature and having to file all these bills within, I think, a very short period of time. I was talking with one of the other state reps about that. What are you going to concentrate on your first, I'd say, 6 months here in office as a state senator?
Sure. So we filed, I don't even know the full number, somewhere around 45 bills in our first 2 weeks. There's a lot of stuff within that. One piece is that our state, in my view, does a really poor job of supporting our tourism industry. We have we punch way above our weight when it comes to our tourism industry, especially here in Plymouth County, especially on the Cape and Islands. But the state, compared to Colorado, New York, many other states that have similar tourism industries, we don't do nearly what they do to support it. And so we filed legislation to take off a piece of the short-term occupancy tax, which already exists, which already goes to the state, but that just goes directly to the state's general fund. We want to carve out a piece of that and have that fund our tourism here in Massachusetts. So it is not a new tax, but it's taking a piece of what already exists and puts that into funding tourism. The state does a really good job of supporting, biotech and things of that nature, things that are kind of shiny, but that is too concentrated, in my view, in the Boston, kind of greater Boston area, Kendall Square area. And it's done a great job of promoting economic development there. Well, we're overlooked down here. And so a way to support us in our region is to help support our tourism industry. That's going to be a big focus. Of course, we have a lot of environmental legislation. I have legislation that I filed called the Blue Communities Act. It's modeled after the Green Communities Act, but it's just a way for municipalities to support water quality. There are things that they can do, like the Green Communities Act, that would make them a blue community, open them up for more grants, support water quality in the process. And then we're going to be focused a lot on transportation needs. Big issue here. Biggest bridge infrastructure project in the country is literally in the heart of this district. The state, I think, especially with what's going on federally, I think the state's probably going to need to step up, play a bigger role. You're going to see our office really pushing them to do so. Absolutely,
because I think you have partial funding promised right now, but I wasn't quite sure if you had enough funding promised for the rehab or the rebuild of the Bourne and Sagamore bridges.
Sagamore is fully funded from a federal appropriation standpoint. However, that money is not in state coffers.
Okay.
So it's been allocated, but it's not in the state coffers. Show me the money. If the federal government is acting lawfully and legally, we will be getting that money. I think there's some question marks around that. But the big question mark that I want to focus on, because ultimately what the feds choose to do is frankly out of my control. But we want to focus on, what is the state doing around the Bourne Bridge, which we don't have any funding for from the feds. How are we going to get that funding? And then how are we going to, from the state level, make sure that bridge is going to be built? Because if it's not, it closes down for a year and then goes down to one-lane traffic for 2 years after that. An absolute
Cape
something
Cod
that
nightmare.
Absolutely can't. Well, and Plymouth County.
Yeah, you're right.
And
you're
Plymouth County.
Now, we've been talking about these listening tours. Could you give our listeners the dates and times and locations of your South Shore stops?
Sure. So we have Plymouth coming up on Monday, February 3rd from 5 to 6:30. It's going to be at the public library on South Street. We'll be in Kingston on February 4th from 5 to 6:30 at the Kingston Townhouse. And we'll be in Plimpton February 15th, 10:30 to 12 at the Plimpton Townhouse. So please stop by And if you have questions about it or want to reach out, just shoot me an email directly. My name, Dylan, like Bob Dylan. Did you see the movie?
No, but I heard it was. I got to review.
I gotta go to.
And don't call him Dylan. Dylan. I still can't get over that.
Yeah, Dylan, spelled like Bob Dylan. Period. Fernandes with an S at masenate.gov. Just shoot me a note, and I'm happy to give people more details.
That's great. Anything else you want to add for our listeners? We appreciate you coming in today.
Well, look, it's an honor to represent this area. We really, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of challenges. We want to be people's voice here in this region. So please reach out to us. Don't be shy to reach out. And if we can help out with anything, whether that's help with unemployment, help with insurance, help with any issue before the state, count us as a resource and reach out to us.
That's terrific. And again, it's State Senator Dylan Fernandes, Plymouth and Barnstable State Senate, and he represents the 8 towns, 4 on this side of the bridge, 4 across the canal. We're going to put this interview up online too. Appreciate you joining us today.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I'm Christine James, 95.9 WATD, 95.9 WATD.